Welcome to the Haddon You Heard podcast, presented by McCo Media, where we will be having conversations with local business owners, getting an idea of who it is helping build our community, what it is they have going on right now, and why it is they do what they do. On today's episode, Haddon You Heard with Dave Burris of P&H Renovations, a local renovator here in South Jersey, working on residential and commercial jobs from here down to the shore. Let's have Dave explain a little more about P&H and what else he has going on, because he is a jack of all trades. Thanks for joining me today, Dave.
Thanks for having me, Doug. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a great intro. Very succinct. I like what you did there. P&H Renovations. We do about 80% residential projects, 20% commercial projects. Everything from small powder rooms up to additions, doing commercial roofing and solar, all kinds of fun stuff like that. So we work with clients of really every budget, every shape and size of projects. Just try and serve everyone and help everyone have a great place to live, do business.
It's important. It's important kind of work that you're in.
Yeah.
You're building homes, you're building kitchens and things like that.
Yeah.
So in a goofy manner, describe for me how you would describe your work.
Well, it's a very personal business. I mean, you're living and operating and doing your work quite literally inside the place where someone lives, cooks, eats, has their recreation time, binge watches, Netflix and Hulu and Amazon. It's a very personal job because you're in someone's personal space. So The rewarding part is we get to, basically create home for somebody, in a lot of ways. And for the commercial side of things, for whether it's a church or a business or a nonprofit, we get to help them create the space that they can utilize to do what their calling is. So it's a neat way to put a personal touch and help someone kind of level up either their space, realize a dream in that way, or in a commercial environment, helping someone create a great space to do what they're meant to do. I don't know if that's a goofy way to describe it.
That works.
I'll tell you what, a goofy way to describe it is this. I usually give a long-winded explanation of kind of what I do because I work in renovations. I'm also a realtor at Keller Williams in Morristown, New Jersey. And so I used to give this long-winded explanation, do this and these clients, and I work with that. And someone said to me, oh, so you're like both property brothers. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably the most succinct way to say that, although they have much better hair than I do.
Oh my gosh. You do it all.
I'm follically challenged,
It's the only thing you can't do.
It's the only thing I can't do is grow hair on the top of my head. Yeah.
Yes. Well, this is awesome. I appreciate you jumping on the show, Dave. Let's talk about P&H a little bit. How did you come up with the name? What does it represent? And why did you jump into this journey?
P&H Renovations stands for Property and Home Renovations. We quite literally work in, commercial and residential for renovations. And we were trying to create a brand and a look and a feel that kind of resonated with what we were trying to do. So trying to help people elevate spaces, trying to, bring a sense of luxury as well. There's people kind of have the misnomer working in renovations that, to get a great outcome, you're going to have to spend a lot of money. Now, sure, you can, but you don't have to. There's a lot of ways to be budget conscious, to be cost conscious, and still get the outcome that you're going for. That's one of the things I think that sets us apart from a lot of different companies is we're always working with the clients of all shapes and sizes, all budgets, all types of projects. And, we're going to listen a lot. We're going to ask a lot of questions. When you connect with us, you're going to go to our website. You're going to fill out the contact form, give us your budget, what you're thinking. We start with a phone call before we even get to your house. Yeah. We want to get some information from you. We want to make sure we're a good fit out of the gate. We also want to have a conversation to review everything with you before we even do an in-home consult, right? Yeah. And during this process, we're just asking a lot of questions and getting information so that we can try and work with you to make the best recommendations on how to accomplish a project, what materials to use. A lot of times we're working hand in hand with designers as well. We have some designers that we do a lot of projects with that we refer and they refer to us and we have a good working relationship with. So a lot of times, material selections and that sort of thing is happening with the clients, happening with the designer. But we oftentimes have a say in that. It's like, listen, if you want to, this was your budget you communicated. If you want to stick to this, these are ways we can accomplish that, you know? And I always like to say in renovations, there's two kinds of costs associated with any project. So we're going to have a fixed cost. We're going to have a flexible cost. So fixed cost is going to be something where it's, hey, the labor to do this, the building material costs are X, Y, and Z, right? Those are the ones that on an estimate from us is line items. But I mean, you can choose to spend or save on what tile do you use, what flooring material you're using, what cabinet line are you selecting? For a kitchen, what countertop are you using? That sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a personal business. Some folks say, budget's no option. We're like, okay, well, that's great to know, but it's also not quite true.
Right.
And some folks say, listen, I have this amount of money to spend on this type of a project. What can we get done? It's great. We can work with both.
So this is awesome because it sounds like your work is fully customizable when it comes to each client. They're each getting their own special production out of you guys.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite part about working with each and every individual client and creating these projects almost out of nothing?
Yeah. So the rewarding part for me is, again, to go back to like what I was saying before, but it's being able to create home for somebody, having someone's vision, and even helping them kind of tailor the vision of what they may not even thought was possible to create that, because it's a space they'll be living and growing and growing their family and just living years to come in. So that's the biggest rewarding part. It's always nice to help somebody see potential in something, whether it's potential in themselves or potential in an opportunity, or in this case, potential in a property that they may not even have known was existing there before. If we move that wall, if we do this, if we actually change the layout of the bathroom or the kitchen or reorient the bedroom in this way, you would net X amount of space, these features, those things. And they're like, what? Like, I had no idea, and that's fun because it's, you kind of get to see in a consult and during the course of a project, someone's mind open to opportunity, which is neat, Now,
what's your favorite part about it? Just that right there?
I mean,
is it creating the space where they don't see it coming?
Yeah. So it's I think it's the feel good vibes that you get from really being able to create the space and help them realize the space, sometimes with tangents that they didn't know were coming, like an option or that you give them they didn't know was coming. But my favorite part is just it's really helping a individual or a family realize the potential in their space and giving them it kind of is a gift, like giving them the opportunity to go live in and enjoy and do life in that space. Because I think there's a couple folks that say, your house is a reflection of kind of who you are or your brain or that kind of thing. And I mean, we've all been guilty of this, where we have a cluttered space or it's not organized the way it could, or it's not the highest potential. So there is like a relief valve that gets hit when you get to clean out a space, reorient it, make it new again, and then you get to live in existence. It's quite literally life-changing. Yeah. I mean, it is. So that's a giant gift that we kind of get to be a part of with the homeowners and with the business owners.
That's awesome.
That's the most rewarding part for me.
So how would you explain your ideal client, Dave? Who are you looking to work with?
We do work kind of like you said, from Princeton and a little further north, all along South Jersey to the shore points. And so we like to keep things within a certain radius of Morristown-ish. We travel everywhere if the project's right. If it's a big enough project, we can make room for it. We try and make sure the projects in that scope can fit really anything. I mean, but my ideal client would probably be someone who is not sure what the options might be for their house. They have an idea of what they'd like to get accomplished. Most people are, before they even tackle a renovation, they have Pinterest boards. They've got screenshots saved. They're following bloggers, and they like this kitchen, they like that bathroom. They like all these different features they'd like to pull together. So having someone who has an idea of the style that they want to get accomplished, but they may not know how are we going to get this done, is a great fit for us, right? And I feel like that's a lot of people. It falls into that boat. It's overwhelming to think of, most people, I should say, don't have that muscle that they flex so many times where they can see the vision inside of space. Yeah. That's where kind of we come in, and where a great designer would come in, right? A great client for us is someone who, knows they want to make changes to their space. Hopefully we can help them to be decisive with what they want to do and guide them through a bit of a vision. And it's a collaboration project. It's give and take. They're going to give ideas. We're going to give ideas as well. And we're going to figure out what makes best sense. Someone who's open to suggestion, I think. And then, it really doesn't even have to be someone who's like ready to pay cold hard cash for renovation and have this crazy budget, because there's a lot of resources that we can provide as far as ways to finance projects, even getting into solar and how that, people know that solar works for roofing, but you can also use solar projects to offset costs of home renovations as well. Oh, wow. Okay. So there's a lot of resources we try and bring to the table. So it doesn't have to be someone who's like, hey, I got $200K ready to go, and we're going to do kitchens, baths, the whole house. Like that's a great client. Yeah. They don't have to be, that's not everyone though, So that's kind of the ideal. It's more about who you are as a person, and
Yeah.
if we can work easily and well together, because there's a trust level.
Yeah.
There has to be a certain level of trust, and we always try and communicate that because we realize that we're making changes to your personal space, and you have to have, there's a vibe check that you have to go through, right? Do we both get it? Do we know that we have a good rapport here? That sort of thing, because there is a lot of trust that takes place there.
Yeah. And I'll say it's pretty cool because you and your team are like a well-oiled machine. I've had the pleasure of meeting some of your team members, like the designers on your team as well. And you guys come in and you take care of everything like so easy. There's no stress.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important part, especially when you're doing such a big overhaul of some kind of space. Having the less stress, the better, for sure.
We can never guarantee no stress because any renovations can have certain, stress points and that sort of stuff. But we try and alleviate the stuff around communication, making sure you understand timeline. We get a lot of comments on, I can't believe how fast they were. I can't believe how clean the crews are. Turnaround time, communication. Every one of our projects has a project manager, sometimes more than one, depending on who's in and where we have to kind of move and shift people around to. But you're going to see someone on your project. You're obviously the crews and subs and all that kind of fun stuff, right? Who are getting the work done. But also a person who's going to connect with you as a homeowner or a business owner to know where we are on the project, connect with you, talk about a few things, ask questions, because things pop up, right?
Right.
Whenever we put an estimate together, you're going to see line items, so you know what things cost. But at the same time, we put allowance pricing into play, and there's always things that could happen when you open walls, things we don't know, that sort of stuff. So communication is paramount. You have to be in good communication, pointing things out, advising, getting approvals on stuff. So that's where the project managers come into play.
Yeah.
And that's huge. People want to know that they're taken care of, communicated to well, and you're respecting their home the same way that they respect their home.
Yeah.
Which is clean, tidy, quick, efficient.
Earlier, you mentioned that you're a realtor as well. You want to dive in just a little bit and kind of explain what else you got going on?
Yeah, sure. So realtor at Keller Williams in Morristown, but a member of the Bales Group at KW. And again, we do a mix of commercial and residential, largely. Again, it's probably 80-20 residential and commercial properties. But, we work with homeowners in South Jersey who are looking to sell, investors who are looking to invest, a lot of buyers, people moving. It's funny, South Jersey has a fan base. If you grew up here, not everyone, but oftentimes when you raise your kids, specific to towns like Haddon and Morristown, and like all these towns that have a boomerang effect, I feel like you can call it, right? So there is a fan base, folks that move back to town and want to raise their family, kind of give them the upbringing that they had. We work with buyers doing that sort of stuff and just kind of buying and selling all throughout South Jersey. It's a very, my two professions are both very personal. Because in renovations, obviously you're in someone's house, in someone's property, working. It's a very in touch and in personal occupation. And then real estate, you're working with folks in all sorts of life changes.
Yeah.
Right. We work with folks that are newlyweds. We work with folks that are unfortunately getting divorced, who have life changes, estate sales, death in the family, moving up or down in house because of a job change or a growing family, that sort of stuff. So, I love what I do. I make the joke that I went back into the family business because my family, all growing up and kind of how I cut my teeth as a kid and doing all kinds of work before college and stuff, it was all in development, real estate, all the trades and stuff. My family were all in construction, building and development, all that kind of fun stuff. Wow. So I make the joke that I went back into the family business.
Came full circle.
Full circle.
It's awesome.
Exactly.
And it's really cool because, both of your businesses are very, community, oriented.
Yeah.
You're a big part of the community. I know realtors, have big events throughout the year. P&H probably part of some big events throughout the year. Is there anything coming up that you kind of want to shout out to the listeners at home? You can kind of stay tuned to the cool things you're doing and maybe come attend.
We do a number of events, do client appreciation stuff throughout the year. A lot of times, summertime when family is a little bit more mobile and flexible, we've done Christmas events, all sorts of stuff throughout the year, just to give back to people and say thank you and create an opportunity for people to mix and mingle, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
For renovations, we sponsor a lot of stuff. Specifically, I grew up in Morristown and kind of stationed out in Morristown right now. And so I try and give back to the community a bunch, donations for different community organizations, the rec department, different organizations for scholarships and that sort of stuff. And then also every year, which you've been a part of actually in the past, I participate in and kind of organize with a couple other people, actually out of Haddon and Audubon, the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride in South Jersey. So Yeah, so that's actually coming up May 21st, and it's going to be on Merchant in Audubon, based out of the Brown Dog Cafe. So that's kind of where we ride out of. And what the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride is, for folks who are listening and don't know what it is, the ride started years ago. You know the Movember Foundation, the Grow a Mustache during the month of November? Yeah, so it started with, someone having the vision for a motorcycle ride that was kind of not the norm, not leathers and jeans and that sort of stuff, but more of a dapper and gentlemanly, ride, so that riders that might not be a Harley type of a guy or that sort of thing could have a ride, but also do good. So they partner with Movember Foundation, which is they, raise funds and awareness for the health issues that are facing kind of exclusively men. So they work with mental health and suicide prevention, and also prostate cancer. So like the men only, the biggest killers of men, essentially. And so it's a global organization, global ride. Guys and gals who ride bikes, who want to be passengers, all participate. So you get all dappered up. They took the Top Gun phrase and they spun it to like, I feel the need for tweed instead of the need for speed. You get all dappered up. There's a lot of bow ties, there's a lot of sport coats, that sort of stuff. You're not wearing your pads, all that kind of fun stuff. So it's not a very long ride, so that we're not being unsafe, but it's more meant to be like a parade. It's a ride that goes on highly populated roads, not necessarily highways, but like small town roads, so that you see this long row of bikes, people all dressed to the nines, and you're like, what is that? Yeah. To kind of cause awareness and that sort of thing. It's great. We've had a lot of success with this ride out of Audubon. I think it was in Haddonfield first, and then we had to switch to Merchant in Audubon because we were on Mechanic Street riding out of the Ends of the Earth cigar shop. And the guys there have been just, critical for kind of getting this ride to where it is now. But it's Mechanic Street is a small street. It's an awesome street, but it's a small street. And so we kind of outgrew that space. And so we wanted to, have a wider area for more bikes and more of that kind of stuff, more congregating and that sort of stuff. So we're riding out of Audubon. And I think last year we had about 70 riders total. Wow. The group from South Jersey was top 20 fundraisers in the world, which is pretty crazy when you consider that you have countries.
That's epic.
It's global. Yeah. So you have countries all over the world, major cities like New York, San Francisco, LA, Paris, London, like all these different major cities with hundreds of riders. Our crew has done a really good job at
That's incredible.
Getting the word out, fundraising, and there's a lot of folks that are passionate about it. And I can get personal for a second of why it's important for me. So I lost my brother to suicide back in 2007. And so he was an avid motorcycle rider his entire life, basically. From growing up, we used to ride, four-wheelers and dirt bikes and all that kind of fun stuff. And then as he got older, he got into all different kinds of motorcycles and stuff. And as I was graduating college, I got my license. I want to get a bike and that sort of thing. And fast forward a few months, he took his life. And so I wound up inheriting. I wanted to make sure I could, get his bike to ride it. It's a bike that I still ride today. So when I found out about the DGR ride years ago, it hit so many things to make it a really special and important way to be able to remember, to be able to honor, to be able to get the word out for folks that are dealing with a certain, the same exact issues. For me, it's mostly about the mental health and suicide, because that's where I have a connection. Some folks, it's largely about prostate cancer because they've survived, or they have a family member who survived, or whatever, or lost their life. And so it's very personal for me in that regard. And I try and champion the cause and get as many people out on a Sunday morning as we can, raise funds, raise awareness. Right. Because it's a very important thing for me. And I think it's something where, most of us either have experienced, maybe yourselves, some issues with that, or you have a family member or friend or multiple who have issues with mental health and suicide prevention. Specifically, man, coming through the pandemic and stuff, that was it was running rampant because of isolation, because of fears and anxieties, because of all different reasons, So I feel like coming out of that, it's taken a new height of importance for people who are involved in it. So,
it's an incredible feat that you guys have put together with this event. Congratulations on the growing success and turnout of the event.
Yeah, thank you.
It's incredible. Being able to be a part of such a genuine time was such a joy for me to capture it for you guys. Yeah. And everybody was dappered up. You ain't kidding. Oh, man. I was jealous. I was like, I'm underdressed.
Well, I will say, when you came out, you were masked up and you had your mustache mask on.
I did.
And so my nephew always calls you Mr. Mustache now,
That's fantastic.
I love it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So Dave, let's circle back real quick to the P&H projects.
Okay.
What was kind of some of your favorite projects to work on? Because I know you got to have a laundry list of really cool projects you've done.
I think, again, one of the more rewarding ones, I think, recently is, I mentioned before that there's resources we provide for folks for financing, for options, for all sort of stuff. So this one actually kind of dovetails into a real estate project. But recently in South Jersey, we helped the church buy their first property.
Oh, wow.
And so that was in Merchantville. And so as a part of the transaction, it was an as-is transaction, and the roof was in rough shape over the school buildings. It was a school building, a church, and a parsonage.
Oh, wow.
And so the roof was in rough shape. Had some leaks, had some issues, but it was no repairs was the deal, right? And so one of the things we were able to do was provide a resource to not have to have the church come out of pocket for a really expensive commercial roof. So it's about $90,000 for this roof. So how are we going to figure this out? We don't want to have them pay for it. We're trying to, as a realtor, you have a fiduciary responsibility to do what's in the highest and best interest of your client from a financial perspective, right?
Yeah.
And so one of those things, that I try and do is always find resources, always be educated on what options we have to help people. So in this case, we partnered with someone to do a solar project on the church, and how to do a couple assessments, how to figure stuff out, get the roof estimate all kind of done. And then at the end of the day, the church was able to roll the cost of the roof into the solar project. So they didn't have to come out of pocket at all. In that case, they were able to get a break on their energy bills and also, have this roof covered. And so it's kind of a win-win scenario. So it's a bit of a longer runway to get that kind of stuff done. There's approvals, and you have to weigh and measure and assess a couple things. When you can help someone, get someone into a project, help them financially, you just feel like you're winning everywhere.
That sounds like the ultimate win.
Yeah. I mean, it's and you feel good because you're doing it for a good cause too.
Yeah.
I mean, other projects, to see transformations of spaces, coming from what people have been saving and working towards to get this done, to have this space for their family. So there's a family we worked with recently in Delray, New Jersey, who we did a kitchen for them. We did a family room for them. And I mean, it just changed. This space, they had 2 skylights in the kitchen, shining light in. Even with those skylights, before we did the renovation, it was just dark. There wasn't a lot of lighting. I think there was 1 or 2 lights in the kitchen. They had the skylights. The cabinets were dark. Adding the recessed lighting, layers of lighting, which if I can make a public service announcement for your renovation, specifically in a kitchen or any space that is larger, you're entertaining in layers of light.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah.
I mean, to be able to dim and change the lighting to set a mood or to illuminate is wildly important. So combination of recessed lights, sconces and pendants and undermount lighting, white shaker cabinets, beautiful wood top on the island, and add in the 2 skylights. I mean, this place was just such a different space.
Yeah.
It was, what a transformation this was.
I think I know of the kitchen
space
that you're talking about. It is gorgeous what you guys did to it.
So Duck and I have another relationship, photographer and client too, for real estate projects and for renovation projects. We've been working together for a number of years now.
Yeah. And
even events as well. So yeah, we really appreciate the relationship, both businesses, and also just on a personal level for family headshots at the shore this summer, right?
Yeah, it's in the calendar. It's booked. It's ready to rock and roll.
McCo Media. It's really the ones that have a great transformation. We also did this awesome kitchen in Morristown not too long ago. And it was just, I mean, a lot of the houses we're working in, there's like a cycle of every 20 or 30 years, people are doing renovations. You live in a house for a while. Maybe you renovate when you move in, or, you fast forward 5 years and then you renovate and you live in it, you live your life. And then the next person they inherit a kitchen or a bathroom or a master or whatever that was your style. Right. And so this kitchen in Morristown, I think it was built in the 2000s or late 90s. It was late 90s, not development. And, this kitchen was nice. But it wasn't their style. It was a little dated. You fast forward 20, 30 years, things aren't in style anymore, right? And so this was just a grand transformation. I think you remember this one in Morristown we did. Tile work was insane. We worked with a great designer, Lotus Designs, Vanessa Bernardo. Vanessa. And she did a great job of material selections, working with the client. It was a laundry room, powder room combination with the kitchen. Awesome slider door that was just adds a lot of detail and privacy to the space. Was a great choice. And, it's life-changing for the family to be able to, live and cook and enjoy People say the kitchen's the heart of the home. Everyone winds up there.
Yeah.
Way back in the day, it was you had your guests in the parlor, you're in the living room, you're in the family room kind of area. But now everyone knows you're at a party, like you're in the kitchen.
It's true.
It's just you're at the island, you're at the peninsula, someone's cooking, someone's mixing drinks or serving appetizers, and that's kind of where everyone huddles. So it's an important space.
My favorite part coming to just do some of the photo shoots for you or any designer or anything like that is seeing the transformation and then seeing the relationship between the people who created the new kitchen design and things like that and the family.
Yeah.
Because I'll come in, getting ready. You're already there. You're already at the house and you guys are just being super chummy with each other. Like you're best friends. And that's part of like the customer service, the client service, and just being a part of the community. You're a part of their family now with your businesses. And it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah. It's neat developing those relations. I'm a very relational guy. I come from a big family, a big extended family. And I think I'm a mix, but I'm kind of a textbook extrovert. When I get around people, I get really excited, but I also like my time to recharge,
Yeah.
But, I love connecting with people. I always kind of come from the heart of a teacher and the heart of a servant. I want to make sure you're educated with what we're doing. You feel comfortable making decisions, but also it's a service industry. I'm here to serve and work for you. So developing those relationships is great. It's fun meeting new people, getting referred to people inside the community, that sort of stuff. And it's a small area. I mean, Morristown's a small town. South Jersey is a small area. Like you wind up seeing people everywhere.
Oh, you
just
do.
Yesterday when I was at Starbucks, I was running some buyers around for some properties in Morristown we're looking at. Stop at Starbucks to go kind of download for all the properties you saw, make some offers, whatever. And I wound up seeing a referral client that, right there at Starbucks. It's just like that happens every day.
It happens every day, even in my world as well. It's really cool. This area is just waiting to just be a giant family. It's really fun.
Yeah, everyone's connected. It's the world gets smaller every single day. And I think that's one of the reasons and like kind of the crux why it should force some responsibility on people to make the right decision. For me, there's an innate, need and morality to want to always do the right thing, want to make sure someone's feeling taken care of. They're understanding what they're doing, how they're making decisions, they feel cared for. Like that's a natural kind of thing for me. But really it pays dividends because it's a small area. People are going to talk. They're going to refer. Like it's when you're in any kind of service industry, it's your job to do a good job.
Yes.
And then that's how you can easily kind of, grow your business and continue to work and thrive,
Well, you mentioned educational a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
I want to sidestep a little bit here and take a new direction.
Sure.
Do you have any kind of mentors or inspirational people that you kind of looked up to before you got into real estate or into P&H? Like who's your ideal person you look up to?
So two-part answer here.
Yeah.
I would say from a work ethic standpoint, my mom is she's champion. She's Wonder Woman. If you mention her name in Morristown, you're going to get nothing but praise out of anyone. So we grew up as a family of 6 kids. Mom and dad split. So mom and dad share custody, that sort of thing. But really we live with mom, and, at that time, and I think fast forward a little bit, she worked 3 jobs, she worked 3 jobs and she was working 7 days a week and she was still making time to be an awesome mom, be at all our sporting events, making way too much noise, embarrassing us sometimes. But, her work ethic and just her love and determination, I think has just been such an inspiration and a model for me. And I think all of my siblings as well. I think all of us have drive. All of us have a great work ethic and really want to accomplish and give and live and serve and, make a difference. And that largely it comes from her. There's an element of nature and nurture. And like with her as our nurture, you're hard not to, be wanting to meet your full potential. And so, there's a lot of older men and mentors that I've kind of had throughout my life. And I think a lot of those guys, whether it's from church or from a personal relationship or a family friend or just a friend's dad, that sort of stuff, kind of pouring into me from that standpoint of, kind of what it means to be a young man and kind of have that presence of encouragement and growing. Listen, I'm not going to try and say my mom didn't wear the pants in the family here. She definitely did. Put me in my place a number of times. But, to have the balance of that was definitely important. And so there's a lot of mentors, even, growing up, becoming a man, always seeking to kind of having someone that can pour into you and also being able to pour out into somebody else and be that for somebody else too is I think really important. So there's a number of guys that I can thankfully count as friends and mentors that I could reach out to in a pinch or ask a question or get perspective or just kind of,
Yeah.
connect with as needed to be able to process life and do that. It's funny as I'm talking, I think that circles back to the whole thing about the DGR ride and intention and mental health. And like, that's wildly important to be able to do that. That's not something as specifically as guys, by the book that is done very easily. And so I think that's an important thing. And that's something I value very much, to be able to have a number of those relationships to connect with and lean on.
Well, that's incredible because you've kind of taken that and then grown upon it with your businesses itself. And now you're just creating these relationships with the community that you're serving on a daily basis. Before we wrap it up though, Dave, I want to mention for me, I wake up on a daily basis and I have to listen to a certain artist every day. It's the same artist over and over again to pump me up, to get in the mood, to go take photos, videos, do some podcast work, just rev myself up. Who's your go-to artist? What's your go-to song?
So right now, I'm a big fan of singer-songwriter, and I love the 80s and 90s stuff.
Okay.
I like modern music. I like all that kind of stuff, but I like a lot of singer-songwriter stuff. So I think he's someone that's up and coming right now. His name's Jordy Searcy.
Okay.
Big fan. There's a couple songs. Everything I Want is a great song, and then Love and War in Your 20s is another great song. And they're just like, if you listen to them, I would highly encourage you listening to them.
Yeah.
He's a mix of what I would say Paul Simon, Ed Sheeran, and Glenn Hansard.
Interesting.
So he's got this really cool voice. He does some really good projection like Glenn. He's got the lyrics and kind of like a rhythmic thing. He's got some of these throwback Paul Simon riffs that I feel like are just awesome. So he's kind of a great combination of those. And those two songs are like, they're definitely hype songs. Like they pump you up.
Let's go.
Like, you get ready in the morning, you got your cup of coffee, you're getting ready to work, or you hop in the shower, throw some music on and get yourself excited.
Yeah.
Jordy Searcy, Love and War in Your 20s, and Everything I Want. They're great.
I'm going to check them out.
Highly recommend.
100%. I love this. And I'd be remiss not to mention the graphic design and the website layout of P&H Renovations, who is done by
my wife, Lauren. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's a great help. We all have our strengths, and I'm thankful, in our relationship that her strengths balance mine and mine kind of balance hers, because that is not something I know anything about. The techie, the design, how to do stuff. It's comical. I make the joke that like I'm 39 going on like 79. Like it's just, I don't know how to do any of that.
Got the
stuff.
grandpa vibes going on.
My thumbs turned 88 this year, I think. I have to retype, and I'm glad that Apple came out with the edit the text thing, because man, I'm making errors left and right.
Oh my gosh. Well, Dave, thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of Haddon You Heard. Listeners, please go check out his website, P&H Renovations, that Lauren just took care of, updated and everything like that. You'll see his cool graphics. Check out his website for his realtor space, and check out the DGR Ride coming up event May 21st. If you would like to check it out, please reach out to Dave. He'll give you all the information needed. Absolutely. And thanks again for joining me, Dave. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was great. I'll share some links with you. Maybe you can put them in the show notes, that sort of thing. And folks can find us at pnhrenovations.com, those three letters. And then the Bales Group at Keller Williams, you can check out our website. But I'll give you links to the DGR Ride, my fundraising page, and information about the event as well, so that folks can find us in those three locations. Yeah, we'll 100% add it to the show notes. Awesome, man. Appreciate it. Listeners, please catch us again for another special guest on another episode of Haddon You Heard. Thanks, Dave. Thank you.